Hi, welcome back to another episode of Nature Aquariums TV, where today we're going to discover the secrets of cycling your fish tank. It's something that everybody is always having a lot of questions, but we're going to try to make it as simple and as comprehensive as possible so you understand what you're doing. This video is going to cover marine, freshwater, and planted tanks. But before we start our video, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this. This is something, we did this video before. We've gotten a lot of questions from our customers, from online, from YouTubers, wanting to know more. So we're redoing this video and expanding it with more of your questions and hopefully answering as many questions as we can and showing you some more advanced tips and tricks to make sure that you have a really good experience in cycling the tank. We get asked a lot of questions quite frequently. What's the nitrogen cycle? What do you mean cycle? I put water in my tank, I let it sit for a day or two, and my tank should be ready for fish, right? Well, the answer, not quite. So one of the things that we have to cover is, how does a fish tank work, right? How does it keep your fish alive? As your fish is swimming in the water, in the ocean, in the lake, in the river, it is producing carbon dioxide and ammonia. Carbon dioxide, we do know that it dissipates into the gas, into the water. Macroalgae, plants all take in the carbon dioxide. That's great. We have that cycle of oxygen. But what about the ammonia? The ammonia needs to be broken down, and all living creatures produce ammonia, whether it's you, right? Or your dog, or a farm animal, or an insect, or a fish. We're all constantly producing ammonia as a byproduct and waste that your body gets rid of. Now, the ammonia is very, very toxic. It's going to burn the gills of the fish. It can actually even cause haziness on the corneas of fish. And if you've ever went and bought a fish, discus are very prone to it. You can see white cloudiness on their eyeballs. Usually that means that they were exposed to high ammonia levels. So that ammonia needs to be converted by aerobic bacteria into nitrites. And the chemical formula for nitrites is NO2. Now, nitrites are also toxic to fish as well. The nitrites then get decomposed and change into nitrates by anaerobic bacteria. And nitrates, the chemical symbol is NO3. Now, nitrates form the basis of fertilizers, and it's a nutrient uptake used by other organisms, some corals, plants, algae, and that's how the nitrogen cycle works. So if you think about it, the ammonia gets converted to nitrite, the nitrite to nitrates, and now algae and plants take up the nitrates, and herbivore fish consume those algae and plants, and once again that herbivore fish gets eaten by a pescivore fish, and now you have the complete cycle over and over again. That's how fish stay alive in the lakes, rivers, and oceans, and that's how they stay alive in your tank. So when it comes to filtration, there's a couple of essentials. You need oxygenated water to work with your filter in order for it to do its job right. That oxygenation comes in from the water being splashed by the spout of your filter as it's crashing onto the top of your filter. That provides oxygenation. Or whether it's something like a sponge filter in which it has a bubbler, and as the bubbles go up, it oxygenates the water and it draws water in through the foam. The bacteria will grow both on the surface and deep inside the material. Foam materials like this that you find inside your hang on the back filter or in a sponge filter are actually quite porous if you look under a microscope. So bacteria is going to coat the surface, and it's also going to coat the insides. Whether it's your canister filter, whether it's bio balls in a wet dry filter, whether sponge filter, all of them have a lot of porosity and a lot of surface area, and that's to provide an area where this nitrogen cycle will occur. In order to seed and to have enough bacteria that can handle the size of your tank, obviously you need a bigger filter relative to the size of the tank that you have and the number of fish that you're going to have. Got to keep that in mind. The fish do not do well when they're living, swimming in the water, and the water is high in ammonia or nitrites. The same thing goes for plants and corals. They really don't like to be in toxic water conditions. So As an aquarist, making sure that you know where your ammonia and your nitrite levels are super important. They should always be at 0 and 0 nitrites. So we covered why is the nitrogen cycle important. We know it's essential at keeping your fish alive in your fish tank. How do we go about getting it established? Throughout the course, aquarium keeping, right? This is going back over 100 years. Usually the most common way was to buy a hardy fish and to put it into your tank and wait for Mother Nature to do its thing. That continues to be done today's day. Don't recommend that method for a lot of different reasons. Not all the fish are hardy. Not all the fish that are hardy are fish that you actually want to keep in your tank. And now once you have that fish, you don't know what to do with it. I will give you a classic example in saltwater keeping. Usually damsels are used to cycle a tank, and damsels are quite hardy and they will outlast the cycling of a fish tank. But usually they're not compatible with everybody else, or if they are, because it's a large enough tank, they do become very territorial. Since they were the first fish and the only fish that were put into your tank, they assume that the whole fish tank is theirs. So when you put in other fish species in there, you do get a lot of aggression. On the freshwater side, people will cycle with maybe a larger, hardier fish, but then your intention is to have smaller, more delicate fish species or shrimp, say, and now you have a fish that you don't know what to do with, and it's going to cause issues with your tank. Science has developed a way how to cycle a tank, what's called fishlessly. In other words, not using any fish at all whatsoever to cycle that tank. We need a source of bacteria to colonize your filters, and we do know that we need a source of ammonia. Traditionally, the ammonia came from the fish. Well, it's very easy to synthesize that. Nowadays, we have a lot of different sources of bacteria, and we have sources of ammonia bottled up, and in most cases, it is less than the cost of a fish. So there is really no reason to cycle a tank with fish nowadays when we have science to help us do this in a very effective manner. The first tank we're going to cover is a marine tank. So for a marine tank, we're going to need to make sure we have a couple things checked off. One, make sure you have your tank full of salt water. Whether it's natural seawater or a ready mix solution, make sure it's mixed to the appropriate salinity. All of the filtration in a marine tank, it's done usually in the live rock or in media that you would put into the filter or sump. So make sure you have that in there. If you're using a tank that's going to have sand, you need to have that set in place. The way you're going to use your products and you're going to choose your products is going to depend whether you're using white rock or the purple seeded rock, like from Carib Sea. Usually rock that's been seeded from Carib Sea, or if it's a live rock that you bought from your local fish store, they already contain some bacterial spores. The same thing with live sand or dry sand. One, make sure that you have your salinity in check. Make sure that you have your alkalinity in check. As you're cycling your tank, the alkalinity is going to be dropping. Make sure that you keep up the alkalinity, whether you use a marine buffer or whether you use like a part A or B that raises alkalinity. That's going to be super important. Test your water every 2-3 days. You need to test your water, an ammonia test kit and a nitrate test kit. So what we are looking for is you're initially going to dose your ammonia. Normally it's about 3 to 4 drops per gallon. If you have a 20-gallon tank, 4 times 20, 80 drops in there. With the 80 drops, that's going to raise your ammonia to about 4 to 5 parts per million. After 3 days, the ammonia is going to start dropping. 3 to 4 days. Sometimes initially takes a little bit longer. It's going to start dropping because the bacteria that you put in from your bottle starts to consume the ammonia. That is the first stage of cycling a tank. As soon as your ammonia levels, using your ammonia test kit, below 1 part per million, you need to dose again. This is not a set it and forget it, and this is where a lot of people really get tripped up in this whole process, is that they put the ammonia once and the bacteria once and expect everything's going to happen in 3 to 5 weeks. It doesn't work that way. The bacteria starts running out of food and therefore stops growing and expanding. So as soon as you check your ammonia and it drops less than 1 part per million, you dose it again with as many drops as indicated by the bottle. or by the prescription if you came here to our store. As soon as the ammonia drops again, you dose it again, and you continue repeating that cycle. The next thing that you're going to notice is as you do your nitrite test is that the nitrites are going to start creeping up. They're kind of going to go like on a roller coaster, and they're going to hit very, very high. You let that go up there and you don't do any water changes on the saltwater tank, because you shouldn't have any fish, no corals, no snails, no cleanup crew. Lights should be off. You can let that nitrite spike up. You're going to continue dosing that ammonia every 3 or 4 days, making sure that that ammonia stays between 1 to 4 parts per million as notated into your test. And usually between weeks 3 to 5, that nitrite starts dropping down every day. When that nitrite hits 0, do one final test with your ammonia. You dose it again. By the next day, that ammonia should be 0, and the nitrites should be at 0. You have a fully cycled tank. Go to your local LFS and start buying your favorite fish. The next one that we're going to cover, it's going to be a freshwater tank with no live plants. This is going to cover one of 2 scenarios. You've set up your tank and you're planning on just doing your hardscape, gravel, sand. You are going to only put in hardscape only. You're finding Nemo, little decorations in there, SpongeBob SquarePants, it's all good. Or you are planning on planting the tank and you're doing something that's called a dark start. That is a novel way of cycling a fish tank that's going to eventually be a planted tank, but you do not put the plants in until the tank is fully cycled. And I can tell you one thing from experience, and from a lot of customers have done this, this works out really, really nice. I've done this with a lot of big setups for customers. You set up all your rock, your substrate, your planted substrate, your sand, gravel, everything where it's going to be planted, but you do not put a single plant. You keep the lights off during the whole cycling period. And when the tank is fully cycled, you drain the tank, you plant everything, you flood the tank, and the tank's already cycled, and you can start adding your cleanup crew right away. And you really avoid a lot of algae in a planted tank. Especially in freshwater, guys, you'd need to test for your alkalinity, not your pH, but the alkalinity. Super important. When a tank is cycling, the bacteria do produce a lot of carbon dioxide, and that carbon dioxide does acidify the water. It is going to kill that alkalinity. If the alkalinity drops below a 2 kH or 40 ppm, depending on which test kit you use, it can cause your bacteria to go into stasis. Stasis means it's dormant, it goes in hibernation, it says, I don't like the water parameters, I'm not going to grow. So please watch that alkalinity. If your alkalinity drops, it's very easy to get it back up with something like alkaline buffer. Don't use products like pH Up, because they really don't give you a good reference, and pH isn't the best way to know what the true alkalinity is of your tank. You could be using aqua soils or wood in your setup, even if you don't have plants in there, and those can acidify the water and give you a false reading of the pH. So the alkalinity is the best way to know where your tank is at. So please know your alkalinity. It's very simple nowadays. You have multi-test strips that actually show you the alkalinity right there, or you can get an alkalinity test standalone. Watch that alkalinity. Make sure it's over 3 degrees of hardness or 40 ppm. If it drops under, add a buffer and keep it up. Test your water regularly, every 2-3 days, and you're not going to be doing any water changes. That's the beauty of these fishless cycles. You're not in there doing a whole lot of water changes. You're not having to worry about anybody dying in your fish tank. Test, test, test. Keep on it every 2-3 days. Add your ammonia until your tank is cycled. Lastly, I'm going to cover a planted aquarium setup in which you've already planted everything into your tank. You set up all the plants, you have the lighting, adds a little bit, a couple more extra steps, but it's still very easy. Check your KH. This is very important, especially in a planted tank. Usually with plants, people are putting in wood, they're using aqua soils, they're doing a lot of things that are going to start bringing down and acidifying that water. If that KH is less than 2, please use a buffer. If it's less than 40 ppm, use a buffer. Get that back up into the 3 to 4 range. That is usually soft enough for the majority of plants. Plants do really well in the soft water, and it's also good. It'll keep the pH nice and low. Start with the bacteria, which you're going to put in weekly or as recommended by the bottle, and continue on with your ammonia dosing. The ammonia, you got to check that. As soon as it drops below 1 part per million, you're going to dose it again. Follow the instructions. If it says 3 drops per gallon or 4 drops per gallon, you have a 10-gallon tank, and it's 4 drops per gallon, you're going to put 40 drops of ammonia every time that ammonia drops less than 1 part per million. You can't just wait and let it out. So this is where it gets a little bit different for a planted tank. When you have live plants in there, we want to avoid algae to start growing in onto the leaves of those beautiful new plants that you bought. So there's a couple good things to do. Pick up some Equilibrium from Seachem. Now this does a couple things. You want to get that general hardness up to around a 6. That's where plants do best. And in order to measure that, see if your test strip has a hardness scale. If it doesn't, you can buy a general hardness test kit or a multi-test kit that has hardness in there. That measures the amount of calcium in the water. Plants do need a good amount of hardness from calcium in order to thrive. 2, the reason why we like this product, and it's been used for many, many years, I personally have been using this product for over a decade, is that it adds essential potassium. When your tank is cycling, the plants have a good buildup reserve of nutrients in them, and they're going to be converting some of the ammonia that you're putting into your fish tank as fertilizer. This is where it's a little bit different with when you plant a tank right away. If you're doing a non-CO2 tank, you got to do a once-a-week water change, guys. It's really going to help. There are no fish in there. Do a 50% water change, and as soon as you're done replenishing with water, add your Equilibrium, add your bacteria, and add your ammonia, and keep checking it every 2-3 days. If you are doing a CO2 injected tank, do twice-a-week water changes. The CO2, remember, it's going to grow your plants, but it's also going to grow your algae. What we don't want is there to be an abundance of nitrites and everything else floating around there to give algae a foothold. So what you want to do is do twice-a-week water changes, and you're going to dose it with Equilibrium after each water change, and you're going to dose it with the ammonia and the bacteria. You're going to have a phenomenal, super clean tank by the time you're done if you follow this. So I really didn't want to get into this part, but it does happen a lot. And say you've reached this video after you just bought your fish tank yesterday, and you went and you bought some fish and you put some fish in there, and now you realize that this whole cycle process is going to take a lot longer than you thought. And you're panicking. And look, I know we've all been there. I've done that. We've all done this, okay? How are we going to handle this? Well, I suggest that you need to buy yourself an ammonia nitrite test kit and the KH, a good comprehensive test kit to know what your water parameter is. You need to know if it's salt water, be able to test for the alkalinity. If it's fresh water, you need to know your alkalinity, because if your water gets too acidic with the fish being in there, it's going to cause problems and delay getting your tank cycled. So what do? You're now watching this video. You have fish in there that's been in there 2-3 days. If you haven't started already, go ahead and get yourself a very high quality bacteria. I would recommend Turbo from Fritz. It is refrigerated. They make it in 2 versions. The 700 is for freshwater. The 900 is for saltwater. The reason this stuff is a little more expensive than the room temperature stuff, but it's more concentrated, has a lot of live bacteria. You can really take a nice whiff and smell it when you open it up, and you're going to pour it in your tank. Don't worry, it's harmless to the fish, but it's a lifesaver. Do not ever add a product like fuel or the ammonia solutions when you have live fish. It's Very, very important. The fish are already producing the ammonia for you. What you're going to do is you're going to watch and test that ammonia every other day. You're going to watch for that nitrite every other day as well. If your ammonia gets higher than say 1 to 2 parts per million, do a small water change. Small frequent water changes are far better for the fish's health than one large water change. Go ahead, if the ammonia gets around 2 parts per million, do a 10-15% water change. You may have to do a water change every day, and that's part of cycling a fish tank with fish. If the nitrite starts going above 1 to 2 parts per million, start doing those water changes as well. And it's going to get to a point that's going to be a little stressful because you're going to have all these fish that you bought that you're really liking, and the ammonia and the nitrites are going to be high. Do not overdose any ammonia or like prime. They tell you, oh, keep dosing. That's only going to delay your process even longer. All right, guys, so we covered a lot of different stuff on the fish keeping. Remember that these fish, they need to have a really good life, and that's what you guys are doing. That's why you're watching this video. We really appreciate you watching and supporting us. If you have additional questions, please leave them below. We'll try to get to them as quickly as we can. Also, suggestions for new videos. And remember to have a really great day fish keeping. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day, guys.